What's going on, guys? It's Frito here for another huge news roundup. First up, the devs are going to have a live stream where they showcase gameplay from the hero missions. You can tune into the live stream on June 21st to preview the invasion story missions, which will come out eventually August 10th. They say they'll be taking a closer look at the invasion story missions where Overwatch's past heroes will team up with a new generation of fighters in 3 action-packed missions across different cities around the world. They're going to reveal the co-op King's Row Underworld. They say how it will challenge you in ways you haven't encountered before, including new enemies, new objectives, and playing in ways you won't find in a PvP match. They'll also be looking at the hero mastery mode, exploring how you can sharpen your skills in hero-specific design training courses that will test even top-ranked players. You'll also get a first look of our new player progression system, will allow you to track your achievements and milestones with your favorite heroes. This is something that I asked for a long time ago. I think this will make just playing the game in quick play a lot more fun. So I look forward to that. And they'll be revealing Flashpoint, the new core PvP mode, which features fast-paced team fights in Overwatch 2's biggest maps to date, in fact. We'll be revealing the locations and backstories of 2 premier maps for Flashpoint, along with a feature exhibition match. All right, so that live stream's gonna be popping. A lot of big information there. They're really gearing up for Season 6 to be the redemption arc for Overwatch 2. I feel like thus far, they've given us bad news, then a marketing announcement in a trailer, which looks good, but who knows how it's gonna play. On this live stream, we'll actually get into the nuts and bolts of the actual gameplay of these things, which I think matters to us all. I certainly will be watching with my eyes peeled. All right, next up, we got a director's take from Aaron Keller, matching up the fun. There's a lot going on of the world of Overwatch right now. Season 5 launched this week, and we've started releasing information about Season 6, which we just talked about. This week, we'll go over a few topics, Season 5 and the changes to the Battle Pass that we've made, the game modes that we'll be releasing soon, with a focus on 5-stack mini-season, as well as some thoughts on stomps in Overwatch and how they relate or don't to matchmaking. Let's jump into the Battle Pass. We've heard feedback that you would like to see more of the season's themed cosmetics in Battle Passes. Our Mythic skin has always been a part of the system, and we've typically had several other theme skins, but for Season 5, nearly every one of the skins of the Battle Pass is based on Season 5's theme. What's more, we've also made changes to the Mythic skin. This season it has been broken into several parts. We've already talked about this a lot. You unlock it first at tier 45, and then it gets progressively better as you progress the pass and the skin itself. We've also built a story into Season 5's Battle Pass. At certain tiers, players will not only unlock an item, but also unlock the next part of the Quest Watch story. Not every Battle Pass will be like this. We're still experimenting with what feels best and what can make a season more fun going forward. We'd like to continue to evolve the Battle Pass to keep it feeling fresh on theme and exciting. This season, we're releasing several new game modes, 4 of them in fact. Defeat the Demon Lord, developed by Cactus Puppy, is our first ever creator game mode. We're also releasing a new Summer Games event, Winston's Beach Volleyball. I'm super excited for Magic and Mischief, our take on Prop Hunt. A piece of feedback that we hear is that you would like the new modes we release to have more replayability built into them. PvP game modes like Prop Hunt and Volleyball, by their nature, have more replayability, and our goal is for players to be able to jump into these games more often. The 4th mode we're releasing in Season 5 is our 5v5 ranked mini season. This mode will require a pre-made 5-stack to be able to queue for a match. Internally, we're watching your reaction to this mode closely. This is a different type of competition and rating than our standard ranked mode. If this proves popular, it could open the door to other types of competition in our game that are based on teams, like an internal tournament system or mode. Wait, well, you said that was coming, just delayed. Now it's like it's an option, or could potentially force us to look harder at the ways we treat grouping restrictions in our current system. Ah, yes, because they're gonna get a lot of data about the performance of the game now that anyone can queue with anyone. That's interesting. Back to the blog post. He says, as we discussed this version of a competitive season, we also discussed the possibility of a solo duo mini season. We ultimately moved away from that over fears that it could pull too many players away from the main ranked modes to degrade match quality and queue times. The 5-stack version felt like a safer mode to try first, although we'll closely be watching queue times here. There's a possibility that they get quite long depending upon player participation. And I really like his transition transition here because I think it's quite apt to talk about this issue right after talking about Team Q, because stomps are definitely going to be a thing in Team Q, unlike you've ever seen before. Sometimes it'll be you stomping the enemy, and other times you'll be getting stomped, because the strategy and execution of Overwatch is incredibly complicated, and certain things will just hard roll your team if executed properly until you learn how to be better. Sounds amazing for a tryhard like me, but many players prefer a much more casual ranked experience, which is why they've waited so long to put this in at all. So I need you guys to get in this mode and make it popular so I can have it, okay? He says, so stomps. Stomps can happen in all games. They happen in Overwatch. When a stomp happens, it's easy to blame the matchmaker. The matchmaker felt unfair because so much of the other team was better or worse than yours. But that might not always be the case, though. We've been collecting data, and lopsided matches tend to happen at the same rate, regardless of match quality. And remember, when he says match quality, he's talking about the matchmaker performing as best as it can. Now, the debatable part about that is if people's ranks or MMR are accurate. But as far as the MMR is concerned for what the players have, when he says match quality is good, that means they're matching a match that looks like on paper should be very close. So even those, when they think they're doing as best they can, it can still result in a stomp. And I kind of defend him on this after everything I just said and have said in recent videos. Overwatch is a stompy game, so this is in no way a surprise to me. There's many skills in Overwatch, so you can't really give one number that is supposed to be accurate to that. Your skill at Brawl does not affect your skill at the sniper game, or the flanker game, or the shoot Pharah game, or whatever problem you're having. The blog post goes on, even in matches where the skill difference between players is less than one division. Have you ever played a game match in Control and gotten clobbered on the first point, only to turn it around on the second and then win the match? During that first point, it's easy to think the match was made incorrectly. The point of this example is that we think there are mechanics in Overwatch that contribute to matches turning out this way. For instance, the way ult charge is generated in the game is a snowball mechanic. Yes, of course. Aaron, you're getting me all warm and fuzzy speaking in these terms that we've been using for years. And it can be very hard to stop that momentum. When a team wins a fight, they typically generate more ult, but they also get to dictate positioning for the next fight. They get to stick together without the same chance of getting staggered as the loser. In the earlier example of Control, the reset between rounds negates many of these mechanics and puts each team on an even playing field for the next round. We are continually working on our matchmaker, but our biggest gains for perceived competitiveness in Overwatch lies in looking at our core mechanics and the game modes and making adjustments here. More to come on this topic. That's it for this week. Talk to you all soon. So those are massive words. I mean, this is stuff that we've talked about on the Group Up podcast and on this channel ad nauseum, really. So it's like a breath of fresh air to finally have these issues be mentioned, that the core mechanics of the game maybe aren't perfect. Saying this years ago got devs to like laugh in our faces as if we didn't understand how the game works. And now they're finally like admitting things that we've said for a long time. So that's good news. For example, me and SVB casted when he streamed a test with streamers years ago at this point, I believe, in the content drought. We tested ults resetting on checkpoint, which effectively meant you lost your ult as soon as an objective was capped. So therefore you were incentivized to go try to make a clutch play. It really punished like careful regrouping and sort of said, you have the resource, so you better go try use it, rather than like setting up the perfect defense every time. I loved the effect of that mode, by the way. Now, if you were a player that lost your ult because the quote like round reset, let's say, sort of like it does in Control, because that was my thought process in suggesting this to begin with. Maybe it was SVB's idea. I can't remember whose idea it was anymore. But if there was a way to kind of like have a round in Overwatch where the resources were reset, that would just be like a one big step forward in giving you some time to breathe, think about the matchup, make adjustments, rather than just like make the right counter swap, but they've already got positioning and ult advantage as Aaron's describing. Like it's like a double win when you get to control the map and have more resources. I'll give you like a crazy idea that likely they won't even think about, but I want to relate it to TAC shooters, which have economy systems where you start to snowball a bit of an advantage, but there's diminishing returns because there's only so much you can buy in a round anyway. And in a TAC shooter like Valorant or CSGO, when a team loses multiple rounds, they start to accrue economy and maybe try to eco a round to save up for another one. And any gains that are made, any frags that you get with your cheap pistol that you can afford, gives you the opportunity to maybe steal the enemy's weapon. Now, this is kind of a crazy idea. If we thought about ways to implement that into Overwatch, there already is an aesthetic mechanic that works this way. When you steal an enemy's fire, the new on fire mechanic. If you take someone out who's on fire, you get on fire. Now, again, I think this is a crazy idea, but the type of thing I hope they're thinking of is like ways for ults to change. Not that I think you should be able to steal the enemy's ult, but maybe the losing team has a way to gain more ult charge. That would be kind of a crazy idea. Comeback mechanics can be a bit overrated though. Like in Heroes of the Storm, part of the criticism of that game, even though I thought it was a game that the mechanics were just really, really fun, but from a competitive standpoint, it's kind of boring, or was considered boring by most, how teamwork reliant it is. Like it's hard for one player to really dominate a match, which is part of the fun of those kinds of modes. Like you play a battle royale, one player gets the win, most people lose. So like that negativity contrast makes winning much more satisfying. And so comeback mechanics are like okay, but they've got to be kept in check, right? It's very easy for them to make adjustments to this and make the game worse. I think some of my suggestions, like you don't want to steal the enemy's ult or something, that might just be like super terrible. But it's a type of idea that if you could do that when losing significantly, you yourself could make a swing back carry play. They've recently been really addressing the Gibraltar situation. They've done a couple passes at this where they change the spawn mechanic, which don't forget, when you are stranded at a old spawn and your team spawned has moved, press interact to spawn at the new location with them. That's like Gibraltar almost invented that problem. But now in the recent patch, they improved some spawn doors, added cover. They're really like working on the map flow. And a suggestion I made years ago was, what if the different stages of the map were discrete? So as you win, you might not be able to just go spawn cap the enemy, for example. I don't love this idea because it probably requires visual clutter and barriers and less freedom on the map. Like that's all less fun, but it might allow for the enemy team to die, respawn, and actually get some useful ground to basically play the game, because we've all been on Gibraltar where they snowball the first point, take control of ship, we're spawning outside of the hangar, and then they get to go fight us in the doors and we have to somehow escape out of a doorway. Meanwhile, they get the entire hangar to work with. Like that's just like incredibly oppressive map advantage. Okay, all this got really nerdy really quick. I'm excited where Aaron's head is at in this direction of looking at core game mechanics. It's talks like this that really makes me feel like we are a live service game, because in Overwatch 1, they only really looked at things that were like utterly broken, like 2CP they reworked 100 times, but their route to save 2CP felt a lot more stubborn than how they treat things today. In Overwatch 1, there was often like very strange arbitrary rules that they seemingly weren't willing to break, or demanded to make mechanics in this very particular obtuse way that try to like block out other feedback. Meanwhile, like most of the game is influenced from other games anyway. Like it's very confusing, the dichotomy there, where Overwatch in general is like an homage to all first-person shooters, yet they don't want to copy certain mechanics other games do. For what? Fear of being called a ripoff? Like it's already a TF2 mode. Like what do you mean? I don't know. That was all really strange to me. In any case, it's promising that under a year into the live service version of Overwatch 2, we are really getting some PvP love. I mean, our skin purchases gotta be going somewhere, right? Right, guys? They're doing something. Well, let's see what all of that has panned out to be on that live stream that's coming out on June 21st for the hero missions and all the season 6 stuff. Let me know what you think about all their attention to PvP. I know emotions have been all over the place with Overwatch recently, but as far as PvP is concerned, I'm pretty happy. What about you guys? Let me know. If you enjoyed the video, please be sure to leave it a like, and don't forget to subscribe and click the bell icon to actually get notified when our videos come out. That's been it for me. I've been Frito for your Overwatch. I'll see you guys next time.